Hello and welcome. You're listening to Marketing Matters on the Wharton Podcast Network, which is our weekly podcast where we analyze the latest in advertising, marketing, customer behavior, new product launches, retailing. I'm Barbara Kahn, the Patty and J.H. Baker Professor of Marketing. And my co-host, Americus is out of town. I think he's in Austin. He's doing his magic somewhere else, but he'll be back, and he's sorry to miss this show. But instead of him, we have a wonderful guest. So I'm really excited about having our guest, and we'll try to do without Americus this time. Let me introduce Shannon Shea Montoya, who's the global head of B2B marketing and sponsorships and events at Yahoo. Hello, Shannon.
Hi, Barbara. I'm so excited to spend part of my day with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you both because of your particular role, your background, things you've done in the past. I want to talk about all of that, but also about Yahoo. So let's start with Yahoo just a little bit so remind people what Yahoo does, how they make their money, things like that. Obviously, Yahoo's a well-known brand. I think a lot of people have the brand awareness of Yahoo.
hmm
But I mean, I wonder if you'll disagree with me to say that it used to be the king of the internet, like,
hmm
it was the name that came to mind top of mind maybe in the 2000s, and now it's gotten a lot of competition from other platforms, so it's kind of an interesting marketing story because you do have brand awareness, people kinda know what Yahoo does,
Yeah.
but it's not at the peak that it once was. First of all, do you agree with that assessment or disagree?
Well, I might have some things that might surprise you in the audience a little bit.
Okay.
So, Yahoo, we're actually celebrating our 30th anniversary this year, which is really exciting. And, Yahoo is still a top five internet property. 90% of the US internet population comes to Yahoo every month. So that's
Wow.
9 in 10 people come to Yahoo
Wow.
every month. That's
That
a
does surprise me.
a massive audience. And out of that, nearly 50% of unique visitors to Yahoo are Gen Z and millennials. So
Oh, that's
also a
interesting.
younger user base as well. And then Yahoo has just an incredible portfolio of products and brands, including Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Sports, Yahoo News, Search, Mail. There's been ton, and we've spent the last couple of years really cooking on that product innovation, have been coming out with new releases and will continue to do so. So a lot of exciting innovation happening at Yahoo right now. And again, like massive audience across the board.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to diminish that because I did see another statistic that said that you had 3 billion web visits in February, was on par with Amazon. So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
chopped liver, so to speak. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. And it is a brand that people, they know and they really like. Yahoo has a general sentiment around it that's joy and celebratory. And what our goal is to really try and be that place to help you achieve your goals on a daily basis. So whether that's, checking your mail or checking your investments, or maybe crushing it in fantasy, of which I have a little work to do in my own fantasy bracket. But I'm doing okay. I'm riding midfield right now. But all of these things help you to accomplish, these little goals and these little tasks every day, that bring that joy and enjoyment to your life.
So let's just, I mean, I just want to just quickly run down the revenue models just so we see and then where you fit in and what your goals are.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess their primary service is web portal, online service, content, and media. And like you said, they have some premium services, some subscriptions
Yep.
that are pretty big. They obviously I mean, they have email and communication, which you already mentioned.
Yep.
And then they obviously make money on advertising, on technology. A lot of the revenue, I think, comes through advertising and subscription. And then where I think you come in, there's also this small business domain hosting and a lot of B2B business. Do you want to, and that's, I think, kind of where your job is. Is that right? Or I think that
Yeah.
was
So
in your
part of
title.
Yeah, so part of my role, I do oversee all of our, in a very simplified format, it's all of our business and experience marketing. So business includes all of our B2B marketing, and really what we're doing is supporting the advertising across Yahoo. We have two different advertising divisions within Yahoo. We have Yahoo Ads, which is a direct business into our owned and operated properties, including Yahoo Sports, Yahoo Finance, Yahoo. And given the reach and scale and unique data that we get from all of those properties, it's a pretty incredible offering to the advertising community. The other advertising offering that we have is our Yahoo DSP. And for the audience who might not know, a DSP is a demand side platform. And I think the easiest
Hmm.
way to describe that is if you think about it in the realm of sort of stocks. So instead of trading on stocks, we actually trade on attention. And so
Ah,
every micro investment into impressions is a way in which reach your audiences and achieve your marketing goals and results. In a stock portfolio, you trade on the New York Stock Exchange or you trade on Nasdaq. In digital marketing, you trade on the DSP connects you to exchanges that allow you to successfully deliver on your marketing objectives. So it's easy to kind of think about it in comparison to the stock market. It's essentially the way digital exchanges work. The difference is stocks versus attention. And so what I oversee
that's
is a
interesting.
lot of our business marketing that is to connect to those advertisers. And where I come into play is really, what's important is really differentiating both our ads offering, our Yahoo ads offering, and our Yahoo DSP offering, which is it is the number one rated DSP amongst our customers. And also in head-to-head competition against other DSPs, the Yahoo DSP wins 90% of the time. I don't know how many things win 90% of the
Yeah,
time, but
really.
again, that's a pretty incredible offering. And so where we come in is really around the storytelling of that. So how are we telling a differentiated story and narrative in the market that showcases these unique offerings built on this incredible first party data that we get from search, from mail, and from content, which again makes us a really unique offering to the advertising community.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about some of the other things that you do, and I would like to talk a little bit about your background. But let me double down on this idea of
Sure.
storytelling that you just brought up. So, can you give
Yeah.
us some examples of how storytelling can make a measurable impact? Um, how can you measure that? How do you know story? It's fine to say that, but how do you really know that how important storytelling is and how it impacts the business?
Yeah. So storytelling for me is something that's very much in my ethos. I come from a big family. And so storytelling and being good at stories was a way to win you the conversation at the dinner table. So it's something that's, a big part of my life and something that I love to do. It's part of what brings me so much joy. I was and probably for me, one of the earliest examples of really good storytelling was years ago. It still exists today, but in a different form. There was a museum, a small museum in Paris, in Montmartre, dedicated to Salvador Dali, one of the greatest storytellers of our time, right?
Yeah.
From filmmaker to musician to inventor to artist, just an incredible storyteller. And there was this very small museum. It was like a hidden gem in Paris. And you walked downstairs and you were brought into this world of Salvador Dali. His voice played in the background and
Mm.
all his sculptures sort of came to light and the lights would dim and get brighter as you got closer to it. And there was his famous statue of the Venus de Milo with the drawers,
Mm.
and it's all around the idea that you build these memories throughout your lifetime that then impact who you become in the future, the decisions you make, and how you live out your life. So fast forward, I was at an event a few weeks ago with Giant Spoon, and they had an incredible chef there from Unapologetic Foods, who your interview a few weeks ago from Resi, she
Yeah.
she referenced the chef from Unapologetic Foods and some of the work they had been doing with him. We had a filmmaker there, and then there was a neuroscientist there. And he described memory as it's past events that influence decisions in the future. And what storytelling does is storytelling can then shape and transform that memory to make it even more impactful. So, what would have been just a sort of normal memory makes it something that's absolutely unforgettable. And then what I love about that is you take it a step further and think about some of the work that we're doing. Those shared stories then become collective memory, right? And
Hmm.
so all of a sudden, what you've done within that marketing campaign or event or live experience extends beyond the people even that are within that room. You can do that through social, you can do that through digital, you can do that through influencer, all of these different channels that help to scale that experience to a much greater degree.
So let me just summarize a little bit of what you just said, if I understand it. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I just finished reading The Undoing Project, which was about Danny Kahneman and Amos Tversky, and they
Uh-huh.
came up with this, behavioral economics and different ways of thinking about it. And the way you just described it is one of the things that Danny Kahneman did, independent of Amos, actually after Amos died, and part of the reason he got the Nobel Prize was this idea of retrospective or memories
Mhm.
shaping your
Yeah.
expectation so it shapes your future impression. That's like what I think you said. This idea that the reason it's important is because of the way it shapes going forward what you remember, and creating this salient memory. That's what I think you said. Is that, did I get that right?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I think what's really interesting is what a marketer does, or I always refer to my team as live storytellers. What they do is they come in and they harness those memories, right, of what we build alongside and for our customers and consumers. And they shape that and they strengthen that memory to a much greater degree so that it has an even stronger lasting impact
On the
on
future.
how on their actions towards not only your organization but the future. So in essence, sort of at the end of the day, me and my team are really in that business of creating memories that not only move people but move markets.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I get the theory, and I actually
Yep.
think, like I said, I think it's a Nobel Prize winning theory in some sense because this idea of how these things link together is important, and it was theoretically it's an interesting idea as well as practically as you're describing it
Yeah.
and living it really. But what I'm
Yeah.
wondering is, can you do you do measurement in that? Do you actually measure like attention and then memory and then do any kind of analytics on like what creates, or is it a lot of kind of instinct? Or uh, I guess that's the question. How much of it is based on data that you literally know form these memories and then form expectations, or is it kind of intuitive and creatives do it?
Well, I think it's a little bit of all of that, right? So you have to lean into your data and insights to make sure that what you're doing is going to resonate and has cultural relevance to it as well. Like all brands, Yahoo as well is trying to reach a younger generation of millennials and Gen Z. So when we think about the types of executions that we're doing, we want to make sure that we are really leaned in to what's happening in culture. And so the data and insights, of course, help to inform what that looks like. And then on top of it, there is a sense of creativity, and you have to, and we have measurement of sort of what's worked for us in the past, how we continue to evolve that in bringing the brand to life. But I think a really good example of this is, we did a consumer experience at South by Southwest
Mm.
a couple of years ago. We partnered with this incredible human being. His name is Marty Bell. He started a company called Pool Suite. And he was from Scotland, and it was a digital radio station with these sort of retro 80s 90s kind of disco-esque tones that really took you on a vacation. And the reason being is he was in
Mm.
Scotland during these cold winters, and he really wanted to just vacation away from all of that. And then on top of that, he started adding these incredible retro beach images from the 80s and the 90s and just created this whole vibe around this world. For Yahoo as well, being that we're, 30-year-old company, we started on the early onset of the internet in the 90s, and yet, continue to have this strong relevance and audience today. Leaning into that nostalgia and that modern vintage is something that's also really important to us. So we recognized, that Marty started to get this incredible audience of influencers and tastemakers.
Mm.
We wanted to show up at South by Southwest, so we partnered together on this incredible experience. We called it Disco Necked. So disco and then necked, as an opportunity to really lean into the vibe of what was happening today in internet culture, and that people wanted a moment to just disconnect and time away. And so net, the experience was we took over the Hotel Van Zandt in Austin, Texas during South by Southwest. The audience was influencers and tastemakers that we
Oh,
wanted to get in front of. And we threw this 10-hour party, 10
wow.
hours, Barbara, back to back, nonstop, line around the block
Oh,
for
wow.
10 full hours, and just transported people into this early internet vibe.
Oh,
And
wow. That
so,
must have been
you
so
walked
fun.
in, it was so fun. The entire space was covered in disco balls and palm fronds. We did the complete space. You were greeted by this incredible influencer, Corey Ray, who was sitting at, a 90s style desk, old school secretary, sort of checking you into the party. We had drinks that were named like dial up daiquiri, so custom drinks made. Just this really incredible combination of bringing together the data and insights around what was happening in culture, alongside, just this incredible creativity that we co-created with the Marty Bell and the amazing team at Pool Suite. And throughout the day, we had over 2,000 people. One of my favorite comments from the day was, Yahoo is a move. I'll take it. Yahoo is a move. And there was awesome sort of scale and content and scale coming out of that event as well. So I think a really good representation also. I oversee all of our media and brand partnerships, and just a really good representation of how partners can help you achieve those
Yeah,
goals as
yeah,
well.
collaborators. That's an interesting thing. That's definitely the style of today's go-to-market strategies, who you're gonna collaborate with and how you're so what you're describing, create these storytellers, create these memories because they're important to shape the brand and shape future experiences. And now you just described
Yep.
this physical activation, and from what I understand, Yahoo is really doubling down now on these physical activations and looking for places to put them in the culture. I guess you're also probably I mean, the people who you want there will be the influencers, will be people who are, um I mean, I guess you don't want just anybody in these. You only have 2,000 people. You have a small select audience in there if you
Mm.
consider the whole world. It would be
Yep.
better if they were people that, you're gonna get more of an impact on. So
Yeah.
my guess is you do these physical activations in specific places because they sound pretty expensive. They may deliver a lot of value, but you're gonna have to pick and choose where you're gonna do it. And I know you recently did one at Kahn, is that right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
like, I mean, the one you just described was at South by Southwest, so you're at a conference that attracts a certain kind of people. At Kahn, I mean, I've never been to Cannes, but it sounds pretty cool. I mean, I guess it's people in the film industry, social
Well,
media influencers, like who goes to Cannes and why did you choose that? And then what did you do at Cannes in that sense?
Well, I think you hit on something really important, right? In first and foremost, you have to really, when you're building these strategies, you have to be super centered on who your audience is and what you're hoping to achieve from that audience, right? And so South by Southwest was a very specific move to get in front of influencers and tastemakers. It was a consumer first event. From the business side, Cannes, which is actually, it's interesting, most people are aware of the film festival. What they don't know, or people within the advertising industry are well aware of, is that about a month after the film festival, there's another festival called the Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity. And it is an advertising and marketing
Ah,
festival.
right.
It
I
is
do know
actually
that.
bigger than the Cannes Film Festival. And it brings the likes of Yahoo, Google, Pinterest, Meta, all of the major players within the advertising and marketing
Oh,
industry.
wow. What a great event.
Yeah, Barbara, you should be there. You always you
I'm
have an
drooling. It sounds terrific.
it's terrific, and it's they take over we take over the entire can. It's like a massive reunion of sorts in some way, but there are incredible conversations taking place around creativity and around collaboration and how brands can work together. It's one of the most important moments that we create throughout the year. So we show up there every year. This is a business audience, so we are
Mm.
trying to reach advertisers across brands and agencies. And this past year, I think, was one of our best years ever. So we were once again leaning into nostalgia. We were leaning into that modern vintage spirit and tone that we love so much. And one of the insights we had was that first and foremost, a lot of people remember Yahoo for the iconic billboard in San Francisco, a nice place to stay on the internet. And that's a
Ah,
big part of our ethos and something we play into quite a bit. And then on top of that, we were also noticing this trend that people were, taking over these old motels and turning them into these full experience destinations.
mm.
And
I
we
didn't know that
love
was a trend. That's interesting.
it's a trend, it's a trend. We loved that idea, and so we built this year at Cannes, we took over an entire beach, and we built an erected Motel Yahoo, which you
Oh.
can see above me, was one of the signs that came from that beach space. It did make it over here all the way from Cannes, France, which I'm very it just only came the other day. This is a festival that happens in June. And it was, we completely transformed the space. And what I really love about that is that we took sometimes what are normally kind of boring stats, and we developed them into experiences. So to showcase the variety of our products, we had, the Yahoo search bar, which served as our bar. We had a reception desk where you could pick up a key that had a different Yahoo fact on it. And that key would take you to a private meeting room of which you would meet with, our salespeople would meet with their clients. We had for Yahoo Mail, we had like a mailbox, and we did these custom postcards because people are away from their families a week. And you don't have time to really, do touristy things while you're in Cannes. So we had all of these postcards made. You could send them through Yahoo Mail home. We had a mini golf course that was Yahoo Sports, and we showcased some of the awesome Yahoo Sports partnerships that we had done recently. So just a really incredible way to bring the brand to life in a fun way that people could see it, feel it, taste it, in this spirit of modern vintage. And so it's really, once again, about bringing these joyful moments to life.
I just wanted to run for you 1 second because what's interesting to me about what you're talking about is you are a digital brand. That's
Yeah,
what you are. And yet, what you're talking about here to create these memories is a very physical activation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I love that because as
yeah,
people think we're getting more and more digital, I think what's special about this is that you're going to the right place at the right time, getting people together so you get that social
yes.
effect. But as you're telling me this story, I can picture these things, and I can imagine if I was there, the fact that it was a physical activation would make it very salient. Just as you said in the beginning, when you were a kid growing up in your family, it would definitely be a concrete story that I would tell other people because it would shape a memory. And it's because it's this physical activation that it becomes such a salient memory. Do you think that's true?
Yes, and people are craving that, Barbara. They're craving these in-person moments, and I think it is because, there's so much of an overlap now between your work life and your personal life, and these become those memories and these stories that they then share on, right? And that's how we scale and grow everything that we're doing. But it is such a tangible way to get people excited about the brand and what you're doing.
So it sounds like a great idea, but it also sounds like a lot of work. I'm just curious, like, I mean, everything you described, how long did it take you and your team to put together something like this? I'm thinking like a
Well,
year.
it's a year. That Can in itself is a year-long endeavor, right? And we finished Can, and the next week we're already talking about what we're gonna do next year.
Yeah.
But this is among a multitude of other things that we're doing as well, right? So we have a big presence at CES. We have a big presence there's a new festival called Possible that takes place in May down in Miami. I'm sorry, in April down in Miami.
Hmm.
We have our Yahoo New Front, which is our a showcase of all of our digital content to advertisers that takes place in New York. We've had the likes of everyone from Carmelo Anthony to Russell Wilson to Chance the Rapper to Diplo, all of this talent that we're partnering with to help to drive home,
Oh my
our
God.
story
You
and
know
where
what?
we're
You've
going.
convinced me. I want your job. Like that's
It's a
what
gr
a great
I do
life
love
with
my
this.
job. I do, and because I love storytelling and I love creating memories, but, one of the things I love the most, Barbara, is that I attend a lot of these thought leadership conversations, and people ask, "What's the most important thing people need to have in marketing?" And they say curiosity. And everyone says curiosity, and I love it. Of course, we want people to feel curious or to be curious. The problem with curiosity is that even with curiosity, you're gonna edge one direction or the other, right? So part of my philosophy is to just say yes to things. Say yes. Say yes to going out to dinner when you're tired. Say yes to working with a new partner. Say yes to trying something that you've never done before and using it as a test and learn. It's in those moments that, you leverage the data, the insights, the creativity, you pull that all together. But I think what makes an exceptional marketer is those who are able to pull back a little bit and let the unknown happen. Let the magic happen on its own. And one of my favorite stories about that is a couple of years ago, we at CES we have a combination. Our strategy includes a combination of, developing these spaces for these one-to-one meetings to take place with advertisers, and then finding a moment where we can reach our audience, our customer audience and our client audience at scale. And so that's often through these big parties and events. And so we decided after deciding what kind of talent we wanted to work with, we decided to work with Wu-Tang. Now,
Oh.
Wu-Tang had just celebrated their 30th anniversary of 36 Chambers, which was their first album. They had just announced a residency in Las Vegas, which we were going to be at. They have incredible long-standing cultural relevance. I know you and I were vibing on Brooklyn earlier, and I swear every third person in Brooklyn is still wearing a Wu-Tang t-shirt, including like little 5-year-old kids. So the incredible thing about the Wu-Tang Clan is that there are 8, originally 9, but we'll put an asterisk there, members of Wu-Tang Clan. So you don't really know what you're going to get. We didn't totally know whether we were going to get all 8 members. Maybe we get 6, maybe we get 5. We were hoping for all 8. The night comes and we get notification right before all 8 are there. All
Ooh.
8. Curtains open. We're at this incredible venue called Voltaire at the Venetian, which is also under the Apollo portfolio, as Yahoo. Curtains open, and then one by one, they have we put this incredible video surrounding it. We did
Oh, wow.
custom merch with Wu-Tang Clan. We did, had an incredible experience built around it. But what they delivered and what we allowed the artists to do best was they all came out one by one in shadow. The audience is going nuts. They do all of their original songs from 36 chambers. And then they did covers of things like the Beatles and the Stones, and
Wow.
some of the best renditions I've heard. But what was amazing is the final sort of segment they did was an homage to hip hop artists who have passed away.
Mm.
So Biggie, Tupac, DMX. And then they pause for a second and they say, "In the greatest of all time, ODB," who was the original Wu-Tang member who had passed away. Here to perform for him is his son, YDB,
Oh, God.
who comes out. He's a spitting image of his father, but with his own style and his own flair. And everyone just, you could just see the excitement
Oh,
in
my
that
God.
room and those memories building to a point where, these are things that people are going to share for generations and generations.
Wow,
Incredible.
it's like breathtaking. You are a very good storyteller. But our time is up. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can our listeners go to keep up with all of this and
Oh,
learn all about this?
you can go to yahooinc.com, our website. And of course, you go to yahoo.com, visit our incredible products and all of the work that we're doing across Yahoo to really connect you to the things that you love and to one another.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'd like to thank our producers, Dion Simpkins and Marissa Rena. Thank you all for listening. We'll be back next week. Till then, this has been Marketing Matters on the Wharton Podcast Network. I'm Barbara Kahn, here without Americus Reed, but he'll be back next week. Thank you.